How are you, everybody who is watching this video? I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you into a very interesting moment of learning the beauty of radar and navigation aids. My name is Olenjolai. I thank God by His own grace. I'm an electronics and telecommunication engineer. But also, I thank God for the gift of teaching. So I'm going to teach you about what I know about radar and navigation aids. And I would like also to take this opportunity to welcome all the local students. In all of these lectures, we'll have some local students, but also we'll have some online students who are not physically in this class, but they will join us specifically when we'll be actually sharing this content online. So to appreciate and acknowledge the presence of the local students, let me greet them so you'll hear them, they are shouting. How are you, students? Yeah. How are you again? Yeah. Yes, so later on in the next workshop, you'll see their faces, how handsome they are, how beautiful they are. In our class, we have ordinary diploma students who are actually pursuing ordinary diploma in electronics and telecommunication engineering at the DIPLOMA Institute of Technology in a beautiful country that's called Tanzania. So maybe you are asking some questions. So I want to give you a quick review, a quick introduction, and then we are going to start our lecture 0. So one thing which I want to tell you that you're warmly welcome, and you have to make sure that you are serious because we'll be actually sharing contents about electronics and telecommunication engineering every week. So, and these contents that we are going to provide to you, or these modules, or the course that I'm going to teach you, it's a basic, it's a fundamental course. It's actually that we're introducing to our students about the concept of radar and navigation aids. So, if you are taking ordinary diploma or undergraduate or bachelor degree in any field of electrical engineering or related field, then these contents are actually very important and worthy for you. We'll be just having different ways and different styles of learning, but one thing which I want to ask you, be interactive, ask you questions in case that you have any question, and also make sure that you concentrate, you have a fresh mind, and also you are ready to learn new information. Again, this course is actually a serious course, so we really ask our physical students to make sure that they take a note and they write almost everything that we are teaching verbally and everything that we are teaching orally. So if that's the case, you are students in those fields, then this is the good moment that we are going to enjoy about this content. In the next lectures or in the next workshop, I will actually introduce to you about how you can access our content. So radar and navigation, so the modules that we are going to learn is called radar and navigation aids. Class A, radar and navigation aids. Say it again, radar and navigation aids. These are the modules that we are teaching departments of electronics telecommunication engineering, and sections are called that telecommunication engineering. We are going to have 7 chapters that I will mention later, but this is chapter 1 called the General Introduction of Radar and Navigation Aids. Class A, General Introduction of Radar and Navigation Aids. So when we say that the general introductions of radar and navigation aids, I would like you to clarify to you about what are the contents that we are going to cover in this course or in this module. What are we going to cover? And this is according to the DIPLOMA Institute curriculum. So I would like to say that according to DIPLOMA Institute or DIT's curriculum, so you say that the following are descriptions of what? Of this module, radar and the navigation aids. So if you are taking this course as a college student or institute student, the module is called the radar and navigation aids, as I've mentioned. Then another important description is module code. Students say module code. Say module code. So the code of this module is called the ETT 05, then 214. What does it mean? We have 3 letters and we have 5 numbers. What do they mean? This E is standing for electronics. This T is standing for telecommunication. And this T is standing for technician. Are we together? Then 0 and 5 standing for NTA level. We are NTA level 5. Right? And then these two standing for the something we call the module codes in the curriculum. But number 1 standing for semester 1. No, semester 2. Sorry, these two stand for semester 2. And then number 14, this is actual a particular number in the arrangements, because in the curriculums we have, for instance, this one we call it a module. We have the module 9, module 10, module 11, module 12, etc., etc. So this module course, it has a very important meaning. So simply, it's electronics and telecommunication, technician, NTA level 5, semester 2. Okay? I know that you're expert in cramming the module code, but you don't know what does it mean. So this is the good information for you. And then another important information that you need to know, the number of 40, the number of credits. So the number of credits, it's 9. The number of credits is 9. So its credits is 9. Number of credits of radar and telecommunication, radar and navigation AC is 9. Again, another important information, we call it teaching hours. Weekly, we call it weekly teaching hours. Weekly teaching hours. So how many hours should you spend to be taught about radar navigation aids? So it's only 6 hours for one stream. So for 81, 6 hours, for 82, 60 hours. So for instance, this course now, we are teaching to the class that we call it OD 2280. So OD 2280, simply this is second year, or we call them second year, or we call them NTA level 5. So this is the class that we are teaching about basics of 40 of radar and navigation aids. Navigation aids. Then another important information, which is very important, is something we call it in the Dar es Salaam Institute of Technology, we call it sub-enabling outcomes. Say sub-enabling outcome. Again, students say sub-enabling outcomes. Say sub-enabling outcomes. Say again, sub-enabling outcomes. So during our primary and secondary education, we have been guided, we as teachers and students have been guided by something we call it syllabus. We had a syllabus for science subjects, syllabus for mathematics, syllabus for the artistic subjects. Hello, brother there, backbencher, come with your staff. Sit here, because you are making a lot of stories. So in case of ordinary level or diploma and the undergraduate and even postgraduate studies, we have something we call it curriculum, right? In all level education, we have been guided by something we call it syllabus, that the guidance. For Tanzania, our syllabus is being prepared by Tanzania Institute of Education, in short we call it TAI. Okay? So in case of the ordinary diploma level and undergraduate level, it means that we have something we call it curriculum. So sub-enabling outcomes, simply this look like specific objectives in case of the syllabus. So specific objective that a student has to achieve at the end of the course. So what should you cover, or what should you expect? Okay? That's what we call it sub-enabling outcomes. And remember that according to NACTIVATE, we have to teach you competence-based. So competence-based, it means that we have to make sure that you are a well-skilled and knowledgeable students about what we are teaching you, about what you are learning in diploma level and bachelor level. Are we together? So according to the DIT curriculums, there are 7 sub-enabling outcomes that every student has to achieve them at the end of this course. And myself, as your teacher, I'll try my level best to help you to achieve these 7 specific objectives that we call them sub-enabling outcomes. Are we together? So once we cover these 7 sub-enabling outcomes, then we are done with our module. But if we didn't cover, then we are lagging behind, or we didn't, or we have to see, or we have to look another alternative. The first sub-enabling outcome, it's this one. So this is according, so I'm quoting actual. These are not my own sub-enabling outcomes. These are our departmental and our institution's departmental sub-enabling outcomes, right? So I'm quoting, say quoting. You know meaning of quoting? It means you are quoting something, right? So I'm quoting. The first sub-enabling outcome that a student has to achieve at the end of this module is this one. Employ electronics, a student should be able to employ electronics and the telecommunication, electronics and the telecommunication, electronics and telecommunication, knowledge, and what? And the skill. Knowledge and the skill or skills to interpret parts of radar system. Parts of radar system. This is the first specific objective of first sub-enabling outcome. A student should be able to employ. Say employ. When you say employ, we don't mean that you are going to employ somebody. No, to use. The synonyms of the word employ, a student should be able to use. To use what? To use electronics. These underlines, or the lines that I'm going to underline, just some weights, but it's not being underlined in the curriculum. I'm just trying to give you the keywords, or to underline the keywords, which are very important for you to remember them, right? So you should have a prior information about electronics, and you should have a prior information about telecommunication. About what? Knowledge, or electronics knowledge and telecommunication knowledge, and the electronics skills and telecommunication skills to interpret parts of what? Radar system. So during NTA level 4, in 2 semesters, you've been taught different electronics knowledge. You've been taught different electronics skill. During NTA level 4, first semester and second semester, and during semester 1 of NTA level 5, you've been taught different electronics knowledge and different telecommunication knowledge and different telecommunication skills. So now this is the right time that you have to use those knowledge, or the knowledge and the skills that you've been gathering throughout the previous 3 semesters on interpreting different parts of what? Radar system. It means radar system, it has different parts. So how can you interpret them? You have to interpret them by using electronics, knowledge and skills that you've been learning, and the telecommunication knowledge and skills that you've been learning throughout your journey of learning your stuff, or learning what? Electronics and the telecommunication engineering. Are we together? So the aim here, you have to use telecom knowledge and electronics knowledge and skill to interpret parts of radar system. So whenever you see this one, it means, okay, you have to think, which kind of the knowledge and skills that I have to use to interpret radar system? One of the knowledge and skills that has to come in your mind, it's the knowledge of block diagram, right? Because in electronics and telecommunication engineering, we represent different systems by using block diagram. So the block diagram, for instance, if radar system, it consists maybe 5 blocks. It means those 5 blocks, each block represents a particular radar part. Right? So where did you learn the knowledge and skills of 40 electronics and telecommunication engineering? You have learned them in the modules that called the electronics drawing. You have learned how to draw different block diagrams and how to interpret them. You have learned how to draw different schematic circuit diagrams and how to interpret them. So when you want to study something, you have to study in the same language of how you can present the parts by using the diagram. Are we together, class? Yeah. Yeah. So that is the first sub-enabling outcome. Class A. So 1, 2, 3, let us read it. Employ electronics and telecommunication knowledge and skills to interpret parts of the radar system. Read it, because when you read it, you are writing in your subconscious mind. 1, 2, 3, let us go. Employ electronics and telecommunication knowledge and skills to interpret parts of the radar system. So when you say that today I celebrate, I've covered radar and navigation aids, then we can test you to interpret different parts of what? Of radar system. So if you manage, then you say, yeah, you deserve to celebrate. If you don't, you can't, then you are still lagging behind. Are we together? Yes. Yeah. The second sub-enabling outcome, tell your neighbor, we are going to the second sub-enabling outcome. Tell your neighbor, we are going to the second sub-enabling outcome. Ah, wonderful. Use navigation aids in finding positions. So stop writing. This is just a short sentence. You have to write it quickly and then listen. Stop writing. At the end of learning the modules called radar and navigation aids, a student should be able to use navigation aids. Class A, navigation aids. I again say navigation aids. So it's plural. In finding position. How can you use different navigation aids to find a position of an object? And the word aid, it's not new. For instance, myself, I've met with this word called aid in 2004. Ask your neighbor, where were you in 2004? And then don't bother about his or her response. Because firstly, he or she will be smiling. Because by that time, maybe he or she is standard 1. Or maybe nursery. Others, they were not born even. Okay, fine. Yes, if you are 20 years old, it means that you are not born by that time. So for me, I met with this terminology January 20, 2004. So let me specify the months. Because others were born in August 2005. Okay, so where did I meet this word? And even yourself, you met this word when you've been learning science. How many branches do you have of science? Okay, the subject of science, we can break down into how many subjects? 3. The first one, the second one, the third one. That's the moment when we met with the word called aid. Do you know where did we meet it? In the part, mostly in the first topic or second topic, where we have learned about first aid. First aid. And we used to learn also about first aid kit. Ask your neighbor, do you remember those stories? How wonderful they were? How are you claiming them? First aid. First aid is the tenders. Is the tenders. Hey. Okay, so when you say navigation aids, it means that the word aids, it means that to assist or assisting something, right? So you say first aid, it means that it's the primary way that, or the first way of helping somebody who have got an injury, or have got an accident, who is actually sick. For example, that our friend here, she has been feeling badly, then she went to get first aid at hospital. Are we together? So when you say navigation aids, it means that in electronics and telecommunication, we have a special aids that we manufacture and we make them in order to help in navigation, and in the particular case, to find the position when we are navigating from one point to another point. So navigation is actual movement, whether in one direction, whether in two direction, whether in three direction, right? So it means that you can use navigation aids. You have to be able to use navigation aids to find position. Are we together? So, but we'll learn it because you see that the word navigation aids, it's the two words used in the name of 40 of the module. Are we together? Higher class, 1, 2, 3, say use navigation aids in finding position. Loudly. Use navigation aids in finding position. At the end, when I tell you that this is the end of radar and the navigation aids, you have to ask yourself, I pronounce this the sub-enabling outcome. Did I achieve them? Or have just written them? Okay? Class, are we together? Yes. The third sub-enabling outcome. The third sub-enabling outcome, a student should be able, and I have to teach you, and I have to help you, to apply electronics and the telecommunication, electronics and telecommunication knowledge, and what? Knowledge and the skills to maintain what? To maintain radar system. To maintain radar system and the navigation aids. Remember that in the curriculum there is no any word which has been underlined. I'm trying to underline to show you the keywords because now I'm teaching you. So a student should be able to apply. So remember here we've been told you to employ, here to use, here to apply. Say apply. Say apply. Can you apply something that you don't understand? It is difficult, right? Can you apply that food which you know that it contains some proteins? Yes, you can apply in your body, right? So apply electronics and telecommunication what? Knowledge. Say knowledge. Say knowledge. That's why that I told you, and I would like to tell you that in this course, I'll try my level best to make sure that I give you knowledge, understanding, and the wisdom, but also skills. So knowledge and what? And skill. To do what? To maintain. Do you know the meaning of maintain? Maintain is keeping something constantly or what? Because we used to learn in the topic called the motion in physics form 2, that we can have a motion of the object which it's, when you say that a car has moved a particular kilometer with this speed, and then it's accelerated it to this particular speed, and then maintain its motion. So when you draw the graph, you know that accelerated, constant motion, acceleration. You forgot them. Rather, you don't remember anything. Motion, you don't remember anything. So I don't know what you still have in your mind. You are going to have information about radar, not motion. Okay, so to maintain radar system and what? Navigational aids. Class A, maintain. The primary function of any basic technician is actual to do implementation and the maintenance and the repair of electronic system and devices. Let me repeat, the primary function of basic technician, because NTA level 4 and 5 is basic technician, right? NTA level 6 is full technician. So the primary function or responsibility of a basic technician or a full technician is to implement, maintain, and repair different electronics and telecommunication system or devices. Right? Designing is not a primary responsibility of a technician, whether basic technician or full technician. Designing is not it's not your primary function. Your primary function is actual to study about operations of the particular system. When it gets challenged, we have to submit to the technician. So ask your neighbor, what can you maintain now up to this time? Can you maintain your mobile phone where it's get default? Ask him or her. Because if you ask a radio, he or she might not have it there. She has left it at your home. So ask your neighbor. You as electronics and telecommunication basic technician, can you maintain your mobile phone if it has a network problem? If he or she say yes, tell me the procedures that you are going to follow. So ask your neighbor, left and right. Ask even if that he or she is not talking. Keep on asking. What did he or she say? She or he has been laughing and saying nothing. Oh, that is bongo. So to maintain, it means that you cannot maintain something which, it's enough. You cannot maintain any electronics or telecommunication system which you does not understand what its normal operation state. For instance, if you are sick and then you go to hospital, right? The medical doctor know about the functionality, how does your body function, or that particular part which I've got, which is suffering from a particular pain, how does it work when it's okay, right? And then when you say that, oh, I'm feeling some pains, I'm feeling headache, I'm feeling this, that, and that. So it means that the physicians actually has to remember about the normal operations of the human body. And then from there, he or she might predict that maybe something is a problem and this is the cause, and this is the medication. Are we together? So that's why the first specific objective is to understand about radar system. The second specific objective is to understand the navigation aids. And then the third now, once you understand how do they operate, how do they work, now you can think about how to maintain them, because you know if it is operating in the normal condition, then this is normal operation. When this radar system that cannot give us this information, it has maybe this particular problem. And that's why you came to DIT and you come to college in order to gather the information about knowledge and skills about different electronics and telecommunication system. Are we together? So maintenance is not the simple way, because maintenance is always being guided by the what? By first clear and concentrated listening to the owner or to the client or owner of that system which require maintenance. And secondly, you have to make sure that you undergo diagnosis, or we call it, you undergo troubleshooting to know what the problem and what the cause. Right? So our responsibility is just like a medical doctors. Medical doctors, they used to troubleshoot our body. Ask, tell your neighbor, medical doctors, they used to troubleshoot your body. In your life, what do you troubleshoot every day? Ask him or her again the second question. In your life, what do you troubleshoot every day? What did he or she say? He or she is troubleshooting what? Ugali. Is it? Troubleshooting what? Ugali. Okay? Class, are we together? So you have to learn how to maintain radar system and navigation aids. Possibly, we want to have a physical radar, and we want to have maybe physical navigation aids. But you as a technician, you have to know what are the steps I have to follow when I wanted to maintain a radar system which has this particular problem. Are we together? That's why I told you that this information is very important, you keep. Because possibly during your industrial practical training, you might go to the airport. You might be doing your industrial practical training in any of the ports. For example, Dar es Salaam ports, right? And then from there, maybe there's a problem. Oh, okay, today our radar system has a problem. Okay, maybe the supervisor say, okay, let us go and maintain. Then you have to go and review. And what are the steps that I've been learning in radar navigation aids to maintain the radar system? Or maybe you're working in the airport, because we use this in Army, right? We use navigation and radar systems in airports and also in ports. Without radar navigation aids, airport can't work. Without radar navigation aids, even also TMA, Tanzania Meteorological Meteorology cannot work, cannot give us a prediction. So we have a different applications of radar navigation aids. So you have to make sure that you expand your knowledge. And that's why TMA is always, in our country, TMA stations are always found at airport. Why? Because TMA and the air traffic controller, they are sharing the same radar. Why? Radar is expensive telecommunication device. Are we together? Are we together? Yeah. So 1, 2, 3. Apply. 1, 2, 3. Let us go. It could be okay if you could have a radar in our institution and also navigation aids in our institution. So we learn in the class and then we go for practical. Right? But for the time being, we don't have it. But that does not limit you that you cannot learn how to maintain. Okay? Are we together? The first sub-enabling outcome is this one. First of all, is it clear? We have 7 sub-enabling outcomes. I've mentioned 3, and I've taught you 3. Is it clear at that point, or you have any question? Ask a question if you have it. No question. It's clear? Do you enjoy it? Yes. I'm not sure. The fourth sub-enabling outcome, employ electronics and the telecommunication. Employ electronics and the telecommunication, knowledge and skill. So today or tonight, you have to dream about knowledge and skill. Tell your neighbor. You have to make sure that you dream knowledge and skill. Tell your neighbor. What did he or she say? She will or he will? Types of navigation aids. Employ electronics and the knowledge and skill to examine principles. To examine principles. To examine principles. To examine principles of radar system. Principles of radar system to operate a radar system. Principles of radar system to operate a radar. To operate a radar. So this is the first sub-enabling outcome. First sub-enabling outcome. A student should be able to employ electronics and telecommunication knowledge and skills. Remember that in curriculums, there's no any way that has been underlined. To examine. Say examine. What are the meanings of examine? To examine principles. Say principles of radar system to operate a radar. So you are the technicians, you have to learn about different principles of radar system, and those different principles aid you or assist you or help you to operate a radar when you've been given a chance to operate it. Because operations is not the maintenance, it's not the design. It's all about what? It's all about how you can make it work to perform a particular function. Are we together? But you have to use what to employ what? So you have to be careful about these words. These are verb. These are the verb. Okay? Employ, employ. So it means that you should have a prior information before you learn about radar and what? Navigation aids. Unfortunately, for most of our students, they used to forget about prior what? Information. So when you tell them, do you remember about radio communication? Sir, no, we have never heard it. We have never heard it. Sir, that one, transmitter, receiver, transceiver. Sir, does that exist real? That is what you will experience in our Bongoland students. So, you should employ electronics knowledge and skills, and also employ telecommunication knowledge and skills to examine principles of radar system. Why? In order to operate a radar. Okay? Okay? 1, 2, 3, let us read together. 1, 2, 3, let us go. Again, 1, 2, 3, loudly. So ask your neighbor, are you ready to operate a radar or you are not ready? The answer? The fifth sub-enabling outcome, a student should be able to apply, again, knowledge. This is quoting, I'm quoting. Knowledge and the knowledge of telecommunication. So here it's not knowledge of electronics, knowledge of telecommunication, which is one of the sections in your engineering program. Knowledge of telecommunication to examine types of what? Types of navigation aids. Navigation aids in finding position. Aids in finding position. So a student should be able to apply knowledge, not knowledge of electronics and what? No, and telecommunication. Knowledge of telecommunication to examine types of navigation aids in finding what? Position. So the relationship between the fifth sub-enabling outcome and the second sub-enabling outcome. So simply you can see in these 5 sub-enabling outcomes of radar navigation aids, they actual trying to build a particular concept in your mind about radar system and about navigation aids. Radar is something else, navigation aids is something else. So you are learning 2 fields, but they do relate because sometimes they perform a similar function. Are we together? For instance, simple example of navigation aids. Say navigation aids. Navigation. Have you ever seen an aircraft that passing on top of the roof of your house, or when you're outside during the night? Have you ever seen an airplane that passing by over your head? What do you see? You see some lights. Some of them are blinking. Ready. The other ones are what? Green. Those are navigation aids. They help a pilot to navigate. For you, you might think that, that light is good. It's good. One day I will be a pilot. I think that some of you had a vision or had expectation or a plan to be a pilot during Form 1, Form 2. And then once you reach the Form 3, you say, I want to be a doctor. Then you shifted again. I want to be a lawyer. When you went to the Form 4, you say, okay, whatever the case, I will be whatever will be. Are we together? Is it true? Yeah. Mostly, when we go for the Form 1, most of the students has a wish to be a medical doctor or engineer, but not what kind of engineer, just engineer, or a pilot. And then time after time, even those who are studying artistry, HKL or whatever, they had the same vision. I want to be what? A pilot. And then as time goes, physics and mathematics and chemistry, telling him or her, you love us, but unfortunately we are sorry. Step to step. Once they've been Form 3, where they had a choice. They say, real physics and chemistry, we loved you, but really you didn't love us for these 2 years. So let us say goodbye, we'll meet if God wishes. But at the beginning, when their fathers or their parents ask them, who do you want to be? I wish to be a pilot. Say pilot, and then you don't like physics, you tell pilot bye-bye. Okay, class? 1, 2, 3. Let us go. Apply knowledge. So it means that you have some particular knowledge of telecommunication engineering. You have to use it in order to learn about it, types, or to examine types of navigation aids. So remember, navigation aids, these are the instruments or telecommunication electronics instrument which assisting navigation, assisting traveling from one point to another point. And especially when our eyes has a limit. For instance, in case of air navigation, you don't see where you are going. You don't see that the ground, what is there. So you need some navigation aids to assist you. But also if you're traveling across the Indian Ocean, once you go to some particular kilometers from the seashore, offshore, or from the port, then what happens? Actually, you won't see anything in front of you. You won't see any building. You won't see any tree. Behind you won't see anything. You just see water. I don't know if you have experienced. For myself, I've been crossing the ocean, the Indian Oceans. I went to Unguja, I went to Pemba. I experienced that. Once we reached I think that in the middle of the journey, we don't see anything on the side that we are heading to, this side, and back. We just see water and the ocean water. So I used to ask myself, how is this actual, we call it captain, understanding the direct route? For the aircraft, we also have traveled within this country and even going some other countries by using an aircraft. Once actually we went up to the, we call it en route state. En route state. So means en route state where actually you are allowed to turn on your mobile phone, you are allowed to sleep, you are allowed to communicate, you are allowed to use the internet and whatever. Because during the takeoff and during the takeoff, all the electronic instruments will be turned off, right? During the beginning the flight, also all the electronic instruments will be turned. If you don't turn them off, actually the network will be closed until the aircraft or the aircraft reaches the stable route. So from there, even yourself, you don't sense that it's still going up. Actually, that you're experiencing like you are traveling on the road. So the pilot does not see anything in front, this right-hand side, left-hand side, and even behind. So from there, in order to navigate from Dar es Salaam to Morogoro, the pilot needs what? Navigation what? Aids. Are we together? Are we together? For the road transfer is no problem because you see here there's a mountain, there's a valley, there's whatever. You don't need navigation aids, right? You just see everything physically by our naked eyes. But in case of the ocean and air transport, the story is completely different. And I want to tell you that, for instance, we have boats. Let me tell you in advance. We have ships. In Swahili we call this what? Boat, yeah? And this in Swahili we call it meli, yes, because you have some Swahili speakers here. Then we have what? Aircraft. In Swahili we call it what? Ndege. Or airplane. Okay, as I say that, I understand when you write airplane. Okay, fine, this one. But also you have helicopter. We have missile. Right? All of these air and water vehicles, they are being driven by air and water traffic controllers who are on the land. They are not being led or driven by a pilot and captain. I don't know, I'm not sure if, did you understand what I said? Let me translate in Swahili. Ndege, simaanishi ndege mnyama. Ndege linapita angani. Sawa? Na meli, na boti, na hata zile ndege za kivita unazoziona wewe kwenye movie. Haziendeshwi na pilot au na rubani pamoja na captain. Wanaoendesha vile vyombo ni matrafiki, kama matrafiki wale wa magari unaowaona wenye nguo nyeupe. Sawa? Ambao wako arijini, hawako kwenye ndege. For myself, when I heard that sentence, then I said, no, I have to learn more. I don't know about you. Right? Gari kama gari anaendesha ni dereva. Pikipiki dereva, si ndio? Baiskeli dereva. Ukishakuja kwenye usafiri wa majini, water transport and air transport, it's not a driver who is driving the vehicle. It's people who are air traffic controllers. And in every station or in every point, there are the air traffic controllers and water traffic controllers. Are we together? We'll cover it in this course, so you should not worry. So stay tuned. So that's the challenge. That's the one thing that I want to teach you. And you as electronics and telecommunication engineer, you know what happens. That air traffic controller, it is you and I. Right? Right? That's why we are teaching this information. Because one of the navigation aids and one of the navigation air and the water transport instrument is radar, and the others are navigation aids. So 1, 2, 3, did you pronounce? Okay, 1, 2, 3, last line. I say 1, 2, 3, let us go apply. In finding what? Position. It means a pilot, all the time, in every fraction of a second, he or she has to know about where am I, and am I in the particular height, or should I go down, or should I go up? Okay? Yes. Then the 6C, sub-enabling outcomes, is called the students has to be able to use manual. Say manual. Say manual. Say manual. Again, say manual. Ask your neighbor, are you manual or automatic? Manual and basic concepts of what? Of telecommunication. Of what? Of telecommunication. Use the manual and basic concepts of telecommunication to operate radar system. To operate radar system for objects detection. Objectivity detection. So a student should be able to use manual. Say manual. Say manual. Say manual. Manual and data sheet are very important information in electronics and telecommunication engineering. For instance, myself, I used to teach a lecture or a workshop of 3 hours. Yes, I'm teaching my students about how to use data sheet, and I use another workshop lecture of 3 hours, and I teach students how to use manual and how to understand manual. Are we together? So when I say manual, for instance, you are using multimeter. Do you know how to use the manual of multimeter? Hello? Do you know how to use the manual of multimeter that you are using? Do you know how to understand the information? What are the important information? So in this module, we are going to learn about the manual. The manual that we are using in electronics. Then use manual and basic concepts of what? Of telecommunication to operate radar system for object detection. For object it means in the world we have different radars for the different purpose. The radar manufacturers, when they manufacture a particular radar, they have also to write something called user manual or operator manual. So manual simply it's a mindset of the manufacturer. Are we together? Are we together? Yes. Are we together? Yes. So that is what you have to remember, and that's what you have to understand. Class say manual again. Manual. And then we have basic concepts of what? Telecommunication. To operate radar system for object detection. Say for object detection. So 1, 2, 3, let us go. Use manual and basic concepts. Did you understand it? Did you understand it?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Number 7. Use manual. A student has to be able to use manual and the telecommunication skills. And telecommunication what? Telecommunication skills to operate navigation aids, enriching what? Enriching destination. This is the last sub-enabling outcome, and I'm about to end the lecture 0. I'm about to reach the end. It's enough. Oh, I've been mentioning a lot of information. I've been pronouncing a lot. Kind of, your brain is tired, need some particular rest, and have a good stamina for the future, for the next lecture 1. Because in the next, we'll be having lecture 1, where we have to continue about some other important introductory information about radar and the navigational aids. So then we say that a student should be able to use manual and telecommunication skills. Say manual and telecommunication skills. To operate navigation aids. Here to operate radar system. Here to operate navigation aids. Enriching destination. This is the primary function of navigation aids. And this is the primary function. Hello, listen. And this is the primary function of radar system. The primary function of radar system, object detection. The primary function of navigation aids, reaching destination. Are we together? So as I told you that, if, for example, an aircraft or airplane or, for example, a ship want to reach a navigation, just to reach its destination safely, a pilot or a captain has to understand the information given by navigation aids. And they are always being taught in particular aeronautics colleges or institutions about how to interpret the information. Because actually the language there is da 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 da. So da 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 da. You see? And then another language. The language is completely different from English and what? It's actual, we call navigational, or we call aircraft and the ocean navigational language. They have a special language for them to communicate. If you're in that room, when they communicate, you don't understand what is going on. Okay? You just see, okay. 240 megahertz, 240 megahertz. So at least for you, you understand that is frequency. By frequency of 40, you don't remember. If it is very high frequency or maybe very large frequency, you don't understand. Or maybe low frequency, etc., etc. So class, these are the 7 sub-enabling outcomes that we have to make sure that you achieve them. So when you say navigation aids, just actually helping us in reaching what? Enriching what? Destination. And this one for object what? Detection. Means radar, for example, you have your enemy, you want to detect him or her at a distance, you can use radar. So you can have radar at your home to detect the enemies. You can have radar in your class to detect an enemy who is actually trying to spoil the information about you, who want to attack you. It's not simple like that you just you own the radar. Radar, if in some of the countries they don't have radar, especially modern radars. They are very expensive. But also they need to know the reason, the purpose. You need for what purpose? Because those are also surveillance instrument. Are we together, class? Yeah. Any question about what we have covered? Nothing, because it's the end of of the lecture. Always our students at the end of the lecture, they don't want to ask a question. Why? Because they think about leaving. So my dear students, this is the end of lecture 0. I thank you very much. I thank God. Did you get something? Yes. Yes. Do you love radar and navigation aids? Yeah. We will see it. You don't love it? You like it? Yeah. Are you sure? Yeah. Tell your neighbor, because your neighbor will keep the information about what you are saying. Tell your neighbor, I like radar and navigation aids. And then keep that voice. After 3 weeks or 4 weeks, she said, I don't like this module at all. And then you say, Madam, what do you say? Are you serious? Do you remember what did you say that day, the first day? Don't bore me. So this is the end of lecture 0, general introduction of RADA, or course outlines. In lecture 1, I will continue, and actually I will mention about the prerequisite modules, that what the modules that you have to refer when you learn RADA. And also, I will teach about the reference books that you need to learn and understand, and you have to look those books. And then I will present to you about assessment mode, what assessment mode that we are going to use for this module. But also, I will teach you something we call the workbenches. So workbenches is actual that there are details that in employing electronics and telecommunication knowledge and skills to interpret parts of radar system, you can find it has been broken into 4 parts. Right? It has been broken into small parts, which are actual 4. So I will also expose it to you so that you'll be free to learn. You may use the internet, may use different books to learn about what you have to cover. Because according to the class times and time that we have, we cannot cover everything. But I'm trying my level best to make sure that I open your eyes. So in case you have your spare time, so your own time, you can go far as well as you can. Are we together? So if that's the case, you don't have a question, I would like to invite you in the next class. Thank you very much. May God bless you.